We all have this spark that makes us wake up every day and do what we do. The things that I'm doing when it comes to impact, female founder, raising strong community, having a fund that invests in diverse team and female founder is a need, is not something that's nice to have. Cecile, they're opening the action sign.
Now I really feel like the Oscars.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they took it the whole way.
Nice.
Oh, this is great. I have the best team ever. Okay, can we start? Hello, Cecile. I'm so proud to have you here on my podcast.
Hi, Mali. I'm so happy to be here with you on your podcast. I'm very well. And how are you?
Amazing. I'm great. Actually, Berlin is super sunny today, which is very rare. So I think it's also raising our, energy and our mood for
sure.
today. If you don't know Cecile, this is for our listeners, you're really missing big time. Cecile is the godmother for impact tech in Israel. So, Cecile, you're taking me back to my roots, when I built my first company in Israel. And I feel that it doesn't matter where we live, we always have maybe the same challenges, the same experience or the same adventures because we are, dealing with impact, dealing with investment, dealing with female founders. And I want to ask you from your word, why impact? What is impact? We hear so many different things. What defines impact?
Well, for the question is why impact, I would say, why not? I mean, really, how can you not? I mean, making an impact is probably about being the person I'd like to be, we'd all like to be. I believe in bringing your whole self in everything you do, and I'm a very total kind of person. I would not be able to do anything in my professional career that doesn't bring my character and my ambitions and my DNA and who I am and what I believe in into what I do. So really working in the impact space and blending my passion, my beliefs, my, life's philosophy maybe, into my work and blending all of that together, it's a dream job. Plus, I get to work with optimistic people who want to change the world, who are looking at our planet and people in it and our environment as something that we want to cherish and cure where necessary, but also treat kindly. So, and they invent all kinds of inventions around it to make that happen. And I get to be on the entrepreneurial side, on the investor side, that gets to blend all that together and create the best businesses out of it. So, just blending business, impact, purpose, my own ambitions. What could be better than that? I have the best job in the world.
Amazing, absolutely. And you speak from my mouth here. And, let's kill some mythos because for several years, we work very hard to show that impact can be and is for revenue. So it's very, very relevant for fund as well. Before we talk about Pitango or Magda Group, let's talk about, the impact, the fundamental is a feminine economy. This is something that I'm saying again and again. Show me one woman from Africa, from the US, even, Silicon Valley, Israel, that's raising any company without any, really significant reason. It's never only for making money, but it's absolutely also to making money and to earn and, to give also a return to our investors. At least back then I built my first company, which was a Thai company. It was always by a mission and this is what drives the company. So maybe let's kill some myths. You know, how impact can be in a revenue for investors.
So first of all, the myth of the fact that if you're making impact, you have to discard or discount any financial returns has been already debunked. There's plenty of research now done to show that ESG funds are more profitable. When the market is in crisis, these are the only ones, the funds that are actually surviving and making money when everyone else is losing. Impact companies are more resilient. They get the best talent. They have the best narrative and the purpose. They keep their people longer. They have more productive employees. They have access to capital that others don't have. And they're just performing better. I mean, not parallel, better. So those myths are actually already debunked. However, I find, and I've been doing impact investing for almost 20 years now, I find that it's very hard to confuse people with facts. And the fact that there are research and it shows, and you can empirically show that when you make impact investments, you don't need to compromise on your financial returns, it's still not enough for people to believe it. Because people very, well, I think very rightly so, also act from their hearts and their guts, not only by looking at research. And if they don't believe that it can be done, then they won't do it. So in some cases, people, investors, in fact, need to take this leap of faith and say, okay, I believe this is the right thing to do. I think these are good people. They're looking at the business that they're trying to build in a way that is aimed to maximize profits, but also has a purpose behind it. I understand that this is where the world is going. This is where millennials are going, Gen Zs are going. These are the people I want to have engaged in my company. And I believe the world needs these solutions, so I'll just do it. And the ones who want to rely more on facts and research can definitely access this research. It's there. But you said something very interesting. You said this is a very feminine kind of entrepreneurship and innovation or investment thesis. So it doesn't mean that all impact investors or impact entrepreneurs are females, but it is attributed to women to look at things in a more holistic way. We are women, we are mothers, we are daughters, and we generally have the tendency to see the bigger picture. And treat our companies the way we treat our family. And the way that female management is done is different than male management. Not better, not worse, but different. And because it looks at the whole ecosystem around it, and it considers the holistic approach, I think this is why there's a tendency to say that it's very feminine. And I believe that if, for example, you speak about your toy company, I'm sure that the way you managed it was not the very male-dominant, me kind of way of management, but more of an inclusive kind of management. And if you think about it, this is the way that businesses strive and become more resilient for long term. Wouldn't you agree?
You know what is interesting? That I mentioned that impact is actually a feminine economy, which is, from my perspective, not even dealing with gender. I just see the holistic or the way you approach your market with an impact and sustainable company. And you know how many C-levels and male founders actually approaching me to learn how to be more feminine with their management. And I think this is the magic. And I love your answer, because even if we speak the same language, we need to make sure that people that listening to us, they understand, you know, because I'm the last person on earth that will go to support or to invest female founder only because of the genders. And I don't see any differentiation, but yes, it's the way of, you know, the storytelling, the approach, the management, as you mentioned, the team. You invest in people before everything. So I see it as a feminine, and I will tell you when I really learned that. is when the European Commission launched the 2030, Horizon 2030, I was lucky to be there, and everything was around female founder, female raising fund. You know, it was very relevant for me to hear that. And I say, good morning. Suddenly, it's a mainstream, you know? And it's lucky us. Finally, it's a mainstream, and people want to invest in this. This is why we raise, fund around that, raise companies around that, support male and women and men and women that really dealing with these topics and this unique approach. But also killing myth, you know, I want to talk with you about Pitango. You are leading the impact topic inside one of the biggest and I think important fund in Israel. And when we say Israel, it's never Israel because Israel is always international. We work very, very global from day number one. We think big, think global, and not necessarily think only local. So taking such an important, huge fund, and please talk a bit about the fund so our listeners can hear what Pitango is. How you actually led them to a point that they understand today that the impact is very important, and actually you're not only investing in impact, you also teaching the portfolios how to become more sustainable.
Yes, correct. So as an impact investor who's been doing impact and tech for almost 20 years, it's always been my dream to get out of the niche and into the mainstream. And getting into the mainstream means that we have to speak the language of the mainstream and we have to be non-threatening. So make sure that these myths about not making returns are debunked, but also make sure that we adapt what needs to be done in order for mainstream to accept the world of impact. Now, if you look at the ESG funding, about 1/3 of capital under management around the world is already managed under ESG premises. Not SDG, not the Sustainable Development Goals, which are here behind me, but actually the ESG. And this is becoming much more mainstream. However, venture capital has not adopted that, not even ESG. And for many years, it was because it seemed irrelevant to tech companies. It seemed that we're building startups. We don't have time for these things. This is not as important. There is no empirical facts behind it. What is this impact thing, which is so fluffy and lacks data behind it? So they were really last in the game. And in my previous company, which was an impact investing company that invested in early stage tech startups, I asked Pitango, the partners, to join me as partners in Impact First Investments. And the reason I did that was twofold. Number one, because Pitango is Israel's largest venture capital fund. It's been around for more than 26 years. It has managed more than $2.3 billion, invested in over 250 companies. It's massive. It's like the biggest, like you said, companies are global from day one. We only invest in category leaders. I mean, we're at our fund number 10. We have growth, we have early stage, we have health tech. It's really a very, very large fund and very good reputation. So that's one reason I wanted them as my partners. And the second reason was because of the DNA of the people. And I knew, because I had established another fund that invested in Arab entrepreneurs before, I knew that the people leading Pitango had the right DNA to think about making investments in companies that would have a positive contribution to the world. So they didn't really design it as impact, but this was their DNA. And for several years, they were my partners at Impact First, and they learned about the companies. They fell in love with the companies. They learned about the traction and gradually understood that actually this is something they would like to adopt. And this was my gateway into the mainstream. So when they came to me about a year and a half ago and said, look, we would like to start including and implementing ESG to SDG strategy into our mainstream investment thesis and strategy. So not as a separate fund, not as a separate pool of capital that will go into specific companies, but instead across the board of all the funds and across the board of all the companies, the ones that we are now investing in them, so the due diligence and investment process, but also the ones that are already in our portfolio that can migrate to adopt ESG. Will you head our impact and sustainability for Pitango? And I said, immediately I said yes. They said, this is a very big ship. It moves slowly, but we will let you hold the helm. And this is really what I was looking for trust, for people who come here with the right mindset and the right heart, that mean what they say. So it's not any kind of cover up or sugar coating for anything that's going on, but instead it's authentic and real. And I have a free hand of designing it because no one else has done it before. Pitango is actually the first venture capital fund in the world to appoint someone in this position. So I've had to rebuild it, which suits me fine because I'm an entrepreneur by nature. So I always like to be entrepreneurial, even inside a big fund like this. And I've built this strategy and I'm implementing it. And it's really a big tribute to a fund like Pitango to be a pioneer and a leader for VCs to show that actually we are blending tech investments and impact and sustainability, and we're not going to compromise on our financial returns. We're actually going to increase our financial returns.
This is fantastic, and I'm so lucky and happy and proud that I was in this process with you. Watching, but let's put the cards on the table. Israel is very progressive. We run fast, we take the risk, and on the same time, I live in Berlin, and I also appreciate a lot from the German, I would say, attitude and business. The combination is the best. This is something that I can say. But on the same time, what we are seeing that happening in Germany and in Europe is absolutely, yes, the impact investment is coming or becoming a mainstream. But still, it's very hard to bring these corporates and old industry to understand that. Also, I see it because there are several venture capital, under definitely the Magda Group fund that we are planning to invest in, and tons of startups that are involved under WLOUNGE as a community. And it's still not there, It's not that clear here as it's very, very clear and sharp, as you mentioned right now, in Israel. And on the same time, something I really like in you that you're doing, it's not necessarily those that you're only going to invest in. Also those that are totally not relevant for you to step in as an investor, but still giving the time to show them, or I would say to shape them as more sustainable company since the beginning. Because you're right, the next generation, or our kids, let's say, they're smarter than us. It's not enough to be successful in business. They want to have a meaningful things that also doing, better for the economy, climate change, or everything that we can touch here. Definitely healthcare and process that we see that definitely touching impact as well. Something else that I want to touch, also another myth, only because you're Israeli, or mainly because you're Israeli, is, when I came here, I saw that a lot of women are super smart, super talented. They're not there to dream big enough. It's something in the culture. We can call it corporate culture, but it's something that I see also from universities and schools. And I want to touch the role model aspect here with you, because you are a mother, you are a fantastic doer and executor, and on the same time, I'm also a mother. I also have kids. I also build my life around running my companies and building business. And I want to hear you talking about this. What do you feel even hearing me talking about this? I know you can see, it's old-fashioned, but this is exactly the purpose why I'm talking about this.
Yeah, I don't think it's old-fashioned. I think that at least in Israel, the younger generation, so the people in their 20s and 30s, I think they're different. They're different. I think they get it, finally. I think that young men want to raise their children as much as young women do. And they want to see their children not only in the dark and on weekends, but actually they want to be involved. And they want to have a good work-life balance, which in itself enables young women to stay at their jobs and continue growing. And in a way, if I look at you, and I think I'm ahead of you by quite some years, I think that really it's really a challenge to raise a family and raise a business. It is a challenge, and there is a price to pay. And I think that we should, like you said, like you've built very well with WLOUNGE, we should be role models for younger women on showing how that is achievable, but we should be honest about it. Because if we just tell them how glamorous it is and how wonderful it is, then yes, they will be in for a big surprise and a really big disappointment. Yeah. And I'm sure that you've had to miss out on school meetings and school plays, and I'm sure that you've had to deal with health issues of your children when you were abroad on the phone with a bad connection. I'm sure you've had to be frustrated.
You make me cry right now.
I'm sure you had to be frustrated from not being able to be there for children. And I don't know if your children are teenagers already, but my youngest is 17. And I can tell you that I have 4 daughters, and all of them in their own time told me in the relative years what a shitty mother I was. I mean, in real time, you're never there, and you don't answer the phone because right now you're on Zoom or you're in a meeting or you're in a plane. And every time somebody told me, oh, you're so amazing, these are such amazing things you're doing, I kept saying, no, please don't say that, because as I go home in the evening and I have to wash the dishes and put the laundry on, and my daughter will tell me how not so impressive I am. So really, I think we have to be honest, and I'm sure you will contribute to that as well. If you want to achieve something, you have to be entrepreneurial about it. You have to be strong. You have to make sure that you know where you're going. You have the right mentors. You have the right role models. You put the right effort into it, and you will achieve it. But you must understand that there will be a price to pay, because at the end of the day, time is limited. So as an ecosystem builder, both you and me, we see how young women need to be coached and trained and have access to capital and access to advice and to training, and how they can really build their lives around what they care about. And they shouldn't have to compromise whether they want to have children and a family or a profession and a career. No, that's not what they should do. So I think maybe you can talk a little bit about how WLOUNGE is training young women into doing that and understanding the challenges that are out there, but without telling them not to do it, but instead saying, it's going to be tough, but we are here to help you. We'll hold your hand, but you need to find the right partner. You need to understand where you're going, and you also need to make some compromises as well. So, yeah, I'm curious, how do you see this with the young women in Berlin?
First of all, you gave the all best tip already. As always, we speak the same language. But on the same time, honestly, WLOUNGE is something that I've built like I wish I had it when I started. And when I'm on stage and talking with university or super young female founder, I said, pick up the best partner. It's a game changer for your life to achieve what you want. I totally agree. And I also have teenagers. My son is 19, my daughter, she's 17. I'm absolutely there, but it doesn't matter. You have to be there. And yes, I missed out quite some, but I knew that he's there, So we find a way. Back then it was Skype and FaceTime, we find a way. When I was in China, in factories, and all combined, family and my craziness to achieve what I wanted in life, not instead of. But Cecile, this is a huge message out of it, because we cannot avoid that this discussion, also in Israel, in certain places out of Tel Aviv, is still choosing between career and family. And this is something that it's so important before talking about impact and sustainability and access to capital. Because, network is one thing, and I worked very hard for the last year to have the network that I have today. But on the same time, if you don't have the basic, that you believe in yourself and you surround yourself with the right people, partners, and also friends, it will be very, very hard. And I wanted to truly use this stage with you here today because you're a fantastic role model. And it doesn't matter where we are, you know? Maybe an ocean is between us, but it's definitely something that we see. And I know that you are big time with me on this mission.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm very supportive of female founders and female entrepreneurs. I do believe that it's the best way to express yourself, the best. I also am totally on board with women who choose not to. I have absolutely zero criticism towards men and women who choose to either stay home or have a different kind of career. But I do think that the situation right now is that we don't have enough women founders, we don't have enough women managers, we don't have enough women investors. And if we keep going the same way, then we'll stay in the same situation. It'll take us 300 years to get anywhere. So we need to shake things up and change paradigms. And changing paradigms means that the job market needs to be inclusive. The working hours should be considerate of people's wish to have a family. People in general, men and women, in every kind of possible constellation there is. I don't care what kind of family the person has. It's everybody's right to have a family. And I think that if we do a good job at creating what is acceptable and what is not acceptable anymore, that's also going to be pushing the market forward. Just to give you an example, if you had any idea, if I had $1 for every time I walked into a room in my career and was the only woman, or I was looked at down like, I'm a woman, I'm also a blonde. So to think about all the blonde jokes that I heard in my career, I mean, it's not really funny. And people, they would say these jokes and then say, yeah, I mean it in the best possible way, of course. Yeah, right. But this derogative way of speaking, that is not acceptable anymore. And when we stop investing in companies that don't have any female founders or don't have any women in their management team, that will be when change comes. If we stop, and that's already happening. If you look at the Norway Sovereign Fund, for example, they won't invest in any company that hasn't have at least 30% of their women in their management team. If
I won't invest as well.
Exactly. So I think when that becomes unacceptable, then we're onto something. And it starts by having a women in the room. It starts by having women giving the women a seat at the table, taking the decisions, making sure that they're there and that we are considering their opinion. Because without it, we're missing out on so many opportunities, business opportunities, and understanding how companies can be managed and products can be developed. So I believe that as ecosystem builders, both you and me, we always speak about this a lot. And we even had an incident, if you remember, once in a conference we were together where we had a man shouting from the back of the hall saying, okay, enough already, speaking about women, okay, we hear you, enough already. Yeah. And enough, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, enough would be when there are 9 women judges in the Supreme Court in the US. So really, it's not enough. We're not there yet.
Italy. It was Italy. We were in Italy together on stage. Yeah, that was really extreme. But I think it was also, you saw the other audience, how, they reflect to it. So like, whoo, it was an ambush on him. Yeah. So hopefully we are in a positive process, and I believe we are. This is why, we are doing this every day. Before we're closing, Cecile, I would love you to leave the audience with some very good tip from a brilliant investor, that not only as investor, but a human being, because I know that you care a lot for the people that you invest in. You not just give the money and let's talk in 7 years, which is very, very important message as well as in investors, because it's on us, it's responsibility. As you mentioned, as a community leader, but also as an investor, you're there to open doors when they need, for the second round, for the third round, and definitely open markets for them. And eventually, this is the power of the network, that you can give back while using for good the network that you've built. So maybe some tips from your side for the listeners, as a founders, early step founders, to really start in a very good way, in a very smart way to build a sustainable impact company since the first step?
So first of all, you need to find something you care very much about. And I believe that you'll be very dedicated and very hardworking and very committed if you choose to address an issue and create a solution for something that you really care about. Sometimes it's people's own experience. Sometimes it's just something that they care about generally. But if you do that, then this is contagious. It's a positive attitude that brings in the best people, that will be touched by your enthusiasm and your optimism. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to be optimistic. If you're not, then who wants to invest in you? And you'll never make it. You have to be a relentless optimist. So you start with choosing the right cause and choosing the right solution. Never build tech for tech. Always do tech for good or tech for purpose. And then find the right partners that believe in the same mission that you do and are complementing your skill set. So if you have strong skill sets in R&D, bring somebody that understands the market. If you have very strong marketing capabilities, bring somebody that can do execution. It's very important to have a well-rounded team that connects well and can work together in close collaboration. Make sure that you have one leader. Even if you have 3 founders, there is only one person that can lead the company and take the decisions. Be collaborative with how you take the decisions and be transparent about how you take the decisions, but eventually there is one person that needs to decide. Then go and find your right investors who believe in you and also believe in your solution, but also believe in your mission and will help you achieve it in every possible way. Help you build your team, your product market fit, your market, provide access to capital, access to other business partners and strategic partners, etc. Make sure, because it's a long walk. Taking money from a venture capital fund is a long, long walk. It's years and years together. It's a almost Catholic marriage. Another thing that you have to understand as a founder, as an entrepreneur, is that your role is to take decisions all the time. All the time. You can't wait around and be hesitant. You have to take decisions all the time. If you're lucky, only 20% of your decisions will be total scrap. If you're lucky. Mostly it'll be more than that. And always what I tell people is to just run and get, capture as much as you can. And sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. And maybe this is a good advice for German entrepreneurs. Don't be hesitant. Make sure that you are convinced about where you're going. And take advice, of course, and everything, and be flexible, because you'll need to change your business model a few times for sure. But be confident and take decisions. At the end of the day, people invest in people, and we want to make sure that we choose the right people. That's probably the best advice I can give.
Amazing. So for our listening, several companies I did in my life, I think I did all the mistakes, but I never did it twice. This is the most important thing. So smart money, dare to lead, and surround yourself with good people. Absolutely. Cecile, thank you so much, as always. And I hope to see you super soon in person as well in Tel Aviv.
Thank you, Mali, for having me. Thank you. And I really hope to see each other. We've been locked in for so long here that I'd love to come to Berlin and see the sun in Berlin myself.
Oh, you're more than welcome to come to Berlin.
Thank you, Mali. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.